Hello, fourth graders. Mrs. Nelson, and you are going to be looking at different two-dimensional shapes, meaning you have height and width, or length and width. And these are just flat shapes that are on a piece of paper. So we are going to look at these shapes and try to find the types of angles or the types of lines that we have been learning about. And we will look at shapes with parallel lines, shapes with acute angles right here, shapes with a shape with right angles, and a shape with an obtuse angle. So let's look at our shapes, and we're going to take this one by one. So when you look at shapes, they can have these properties to them, these characteristics, these attributes. Attributes mean tall, short, red, black, white, green, heavy, all sorts of attributes. What do you look like? So what do these shapes look like? So we are looking for, in this guy, a shape with some parallel lines. Now remember, the lines, these are going to be just line segments, they can never meet. Okay, so if we look at this shape, it's a triangle, so all of those lines will touch. However, if we look at this line and only this line, and this line and only this line, they will never touch. These are going to be parallel. So I'm going to label these guys. So this will be shape number A, B, C, D, and E. So I'm trying to find all the shapes that actually have parallel lines. So I know that if I have this line and this line, as long as they're going forever, they will never touch. This line and this line will never touch. You already know that. So A is going to be parallel. Those have parallel. Shape A has parallel lines in it. Now let's look at shape B. Shape B, you already know that these lines cross. So shape B, it will never happen. So this line and this line intersect. This line and this line intersect. They will always touch. Okay? Now, let's look at C. C has a line that intersects with this line. Those two intersect. But if I look at this line and this line, they'll never touch. They run side by side. This line and this line are opposite. They're parallel. They will never touch. This line and this line are parallel. They will never touch. But if I take them right beside each other, they are intersecting. So B has parallel lines. Let's look at D. D, if I look at these two lines, they create an intersection. They cross each other. This line and this line also intersect. But if I look at this line and this line, they will go on forever in either direction and they will never touch. So D is also an intersecting line. So D can also be considered parallel lines. E would be the same. So E, this line and this line will never touch. But if you looked at this line and this line, they cross each other. But this line and this line have parallel. So it has parallel lines, so E. So there's lots of parallel lines in these shapes. Okay, so shape A, B, D, and E all have parallel lines. Now, acute angles. Acute means smaller than 90 degrees. Okay, and we are looking at the inside angle, meaning the shape that's colored here. Okay, so, and then we're looking at the inside of this shape, and we're looking for that acute angle. All right, so we already know that this is a perpendicular angle. Perpendicular, 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 because they meet at perfect right corners. Perpendicular, the inside angle here is perpendicular. Perpendicular, just like this, perpendicular, they meet at 90 degrees. Those are perpendicular. Actually, I should draw it like a little square. Perpendicular, 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 perpendicular. Oh, this one is not. This one's a really wide angle. So that's going to be an obtuse angle. so will this guy. This dude is going to be acute because he's very narrow. Because he's more narrow than the right angle. So this guy is an acute angle. So D is an acute angle. So D is an acute angle. This guy right here is smaller than 90 degrees. So B is an acute angle. So is this. These guys are acute because they're narrow, little. These guys here, these are obtuse because they're going to be wider. They're wide. These guys are wider than 90 degrees. And so is this guy. He's wider than 90 degrees right here. He's wider than 90 degrees. But so these two are obtuse, but when you look at this guy right here and this guy, they're acute. They're narrow. So those are acute. So D is also, or E is also acute, and so we have D, E, B, and those are the only ones that have acute angles, okay? So then we're going to look at angles with right angles, and we already identified those. So we already know that this is a right angle, this is a right angle, and this guy has 4 right angles. So they meet at perpendicularity. So this A and D are the only ones that have right angles. Obtuse angles are the angles that are very fat or very wide. And the only one that has those is this guy right here. So he's super wide, wide, and wide. So here to here, here to here, those are obtuse angles. So I have the shape C, D, and E that have obtuse angles. So you're looking at where the lines meet to try to find the parallel lines, the acute angles, the right angles, the obtuse angles. All right, if you have questions or concerns, please come see me.